Many thanks indeed for staying tuned. Now, tonight, we're having a discussion concerning menstrual hygiene and practice. Over 1.8 billion girls and women and transgender menstruate across the world. Therefore, tonight, we're having Miss Betty Bosbori, who is a health worker and a menstrual activist, to give us a perspective concerning what the country has been able to do so far to ensure menstrual hygiene and good practice. Many thanks indeed, Miss Betty Bosbori, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Can you give us a brief concerning what you do, what you advocate for, and some of the things that you have been able to do as a menstrual activist?
My name is Betty Bosibori. I'm a menstrual activist and a healthcare worker by profession. I run an initiative that goes by the name Care by Betty, whose main aim is to try and end period poverty by distribution of sanitary towels and napkins every month to different children's homes.
All right.
Yeah, so far we've managed to go to different homes, streets. Yeah, so far so good.
All right. So talking about Care by Betty, of course, you've named it with your name, and I will perceive maybe it's because of something that you saw. Kindly tell us when Care by Betty started and why you thought it best to have this particular initiative.
Early last year, I was lucky to be nominated by Cortex Kenya as a honoree. A Cortex Kenya honoree, and I thought to myself, why not give back to the society? Because I mean, I love helping people, and that's why I chose the medical career and also the menstrual journey. So that's when I started this journey, and it was also moved because I realized like most people can't afford sanitary towels as much as they're cheap. And I was like, why not give back to the society? Because someone believed in me, put me on that platform, and in that way I could give back.
All right. Now, talking about menstrual hygiene and practice, especially in African countries, some really do not understand what really is menstrual hygiene, and that's why we have menstrual activists to disseminate some of this information. But can you tell us what is really menstrual hygiene and what is the practice that comes with that?
First, to define menstruation. Menstruation is simply the shedding of the endometrium, which is the inner lining of the uterus, and unfertilized eggs every month through the vaginal cavity, which brings us about menstrual hygiene, which is access to menstrual hygiene products like sanitary napkins, menstrual cups, and tampons to absorb blood during menstruation. So our girls need privacy to change this material. They also need a place where they can safely dispose these products and facilities to at large, do all this menstrual stuff.
All right. Now, when we talk about menstrual hygiene and we look into African countries and Kenya in particular, we are different communities, we have different cultures, we have different economic background, we have different sort of knowledge and education. And this has sort of appeared to be a challenge in terms of menstrual hygiene and practice, because coming from different backgrounds, we know to do things differently, and therefore some of these menstrual hygiene practice and the things that are associated with that seem to be something we cannot relate to. So kindly tell us, in what you do as a menstrual activist, what are some of the challenges, be it cultural, economic, lack of knowledge, have you been able to identify as some of the hindrances when it comes to menstrual hygiene and practice?
There's so many challenges, but just to mention a few, we have socioeconomic beliefs. We also have economic status. Some people feel like 50 bob is, affordable, but some communities that could be food. We also have lack of sufficient creation of awareness on the same. In some communities, talking about this is a taboo. So this contributes a lot to ignorance and also illiteracy on menstrual hygiene. So those are some of the challenges, but I feel like people should first learn the advantages of practicing safe hygiene practices. For example, people don't know how to properly wash their hands. Some girls don't know that they shouldn't be using soap on their, vagina. They don't know how to keep their genitals clean enough. So some of these practices are some of those things that people should first learn for them to break these barriers that you're going through, the challenges you're going through.
And you have been doing this for a period of time now. Perhaps what are some of the really great challenges that you've seen as a hindrance in terms of creating this particular information? You've talked about some communities whereby you can't really talk about menstrual hygiene, it is a taboo. But here in the country, what are some of the key identifiers you can point out as some of the things that have been a barrier to menstrual activists in terms of disseminating information?
Basically, it's the creation of the menstrual hygiene awareness, and also our government has a role to play in this. I feel like the government should probably make these things, they should pass this bill of free provision, which is a main challenge. You see, in rural areas, they probably won't afford these products, but again, menstruation comes and goes, but it will forever be there, it will never disappear. So it's a challenge when we provide for them one time and disappear as well. So it's an ongoing thing that the government has to focus on, make it as a priority. It's another thing to break this barrier of beliefs and cultural issues so that we can pass this information and create more awareness to interior places. Yeah, so those are some of the challenges. People have to break these barriers and myths and misconceptions about menstruation. Yeah, and learn more about the hygiene process.
All right. Now, you've talked about the government and the issue of free provision. And some will expect that maybe, since this is a non-governmental organization or entity, so to speak, the government should provide funds or create a conducive environment for this. Looking to the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Gender or any other ministry that is expected to work on with collaboration on the same, have we really received support from the government in terms of ensuring that we disseminate information and we receive support in terms of funds? Are we seeing that even as you work under Care by Better? Have you really seen that happening even in other different organizations and places?
The government is really trying, because you see, since 2011, they've been trying to set funds aside to provide these sanitary products to girls, especially those who are in school. But again, we have an issue with corruption and consistency. So some of these young kids, young girls, young women receive these sanitation products one time, sometimes they lack them. So the government is really trying, but again, I feel like we can do better because remember, menstruation is an ongoing process, so there's no time it will ever be enough. We should probably just make it free. Right. So they're trying, and also through the Ministry of Health, they've been trying to talk a lot about reproductive health. And in such sessions, be it in schools, through social media practices, social media, platforms, they create more awareness. So they're really trying, but we can do better.
Yeah, we can do better. Of course, that has been the clarion call even from different organizations on doing better. But now, let's focus on the issue of menstrual hygiene and practice. Some people don't really understand why they should be this clarion call or trying to create awareness on menstrual hygiene. You are a health worker at the same time. So what are some of the side effects that comes with not ensuring that you have a proper menstrual hygiene and practice? Is there really is there really a side effect that we can alleviate? They say prevention is better than cure. Sure. Is there really something that can be done to ensure that we alleviate some of these side effects that comes with it?
Yeah, sure. If we create more awareness on menstrual hygiene as a whole, we'll have to avoid a lot of these disadvantages. For example, urinary tract infections, reproductive health. We will mitigate the spread of cervical cancer. So the more we create the awareness, we're going to work on a lot of these disadvantages that we get out of this. Yeah, we'll also create more awareness.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, during this time of COVID-19 pandemic, a lot has regressed, including the progress that have been made in terms of ensuring we eradicate female gender mutilation. Different sectors have been affected by coronavirus pandemic. As a menstrual activist, perhaps during this time of COVID-19, have we regressed in terms of giving information concerning menstrual hygiene and safe practice?
It's a hard time for everyone, so creating the balance is a bit of a challenge. We still have organizations that are still focusing on the same, but it's of course not 100% like before, because the balance could be a bit hard. But we're trying. People are trying to still work on this. Yeah, so not much of a challenge, but a bit of it. Yeah, because people are trying to manage their own issues with COVID and all the negative impacts, but at the same time try to support this. We have people who are still supporting this.
All right. Yeah. Now, some of the people do not really understand when people come out to say that a girl can miss school for a whole week because of lack of sanitary towels. Of course, sometimes due to ignorance, sometimes due to the perception that, okay, what is really big about this menstruation thing? Given that you've witnessed some of these situations of girls missing out school, can you tell us what are some of the impacts of the girl child missing school due to lack of sanitary towels? And sanitary towels are not really, and menstruating is not really a choice that you can say, I'm not menstruating this month, or I'm not, I'll not menstruate in this particular month. You can't pause it. It has to come. Yeah. So can you tell us, give us a picture of how lack of sanitary towels is really affecting the girl child education each and every month?
A good example could be, I came across a young child, and in Turkana, this kid was sitting on sand every now and then. So I didn't know. So one time we went to visit, and we were like, why is this kid not coming to say hi like everyone else? And then a certain mama was like, she's on her menses. It didn't click, it didn't make sense. And we were like, why is she seated there? And sadly, she was seated on sand to absorb this, because you can't walk around with your flu. Yeah. It's embarrassing. We still have public staining as a stigma. So she couldn't go to school till the flu is over for 3 days. And of course, if you're lacking on education, she's going to slag behind, right? And surely if you empower women, you empower the society. That's one of the negative effects. We get the impact. So it was really sad that she's missing out on school because of this. So the more we keep these girls home, the more they lack on education, the more communities are going, they're moving backward in a way. We're stuck at a place. Yeah.
All right. Now, when you look into, not looking into marginalized areas like Turkana and Baringo and some of these places in the rural areas, let's get back to the city in slum regions. I know Kiambai Betty has been giving the sanitary towels in children's homes, some of which are in the slum areas. Kindly give us a picture on how the dire effects of lack of sanitary towels and menstrual hygiene, because in the slum areas we have had cases of lack of water. People are gambling to get water for drinking. What about water for menstrual hygiene practice? Give us a picture of what is really happening in the slum region that the government and other institutions are not really looking into.
So just like you mentioned, you walk into the slums, there's insufficiency of water. They also don't have access to these products because they're struggling with personal basic needs. And this being one of them, it's not a priority in some cases. So these kids are going through pain. They can't afford even painkillers. They can't afford to see a gynecologist. There's no water. They can't ensure this proper hygiene. So you find like most of these kids are going to use old drugs, torn pieces of mattresses, and this brings about reproductive hygiene issues. Their reproductive health is not at par like it should. So you end up having problems with these kids from school, families, reproductive health. And it affects their future. So those are some of the challenges we face with them. Yeah, they don't have a voice, they don't have ambassadors.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's look into what is happening across the country. We have seen different organizations come up to give sanitary towels to students in schools, to girls in university, in colleges, but they can never be enough. Sure. Perhaps tell us, give us an indication of what you think is being done so far. Are we there yet? Are we far from where we should be? Is the progress enough? Are we consistent enough in terms of offering sanitary towels to children from poor backgrounds and in areas where culture has inhibited the use of sanitary towels?
I highly commend everyone who's trying out there to help the young girls, the government as well. But again, I'll still insist on this. We can do better because this is it's not going to stop. They'll come, go, but they'll never disappear. So I feel like the solution to this, just like the Scotland government, will be our government considering young girls. Why do we have condoms for free yet? Surely you can choose to have sex or not. But again, this is a natural process. You can't stop it. You can't pause. You can't. So whatever our government considered to solve this once and for all, making these products free. Free access to these products will help people, those people in interior regions, in the rurals. So I feel like we're trying. I commend everyone for that. But again, let's try and make this free. Let's try to do more. Let's not tire.
All right. Now, as we finalize, perhaps the legislative bodies that we have in Parliament and different organizations, say the Ministry of Health, we have seen a policy framework in terms of menstrual hygiene. We are expecting that the National Assembly, of course, will come up with laws to sort of help the girl child. We have seen efforts being done in terms of eradicating female gender mutilation, but we think that maybe for menstrual hygiene and practice, there is no much that has been done. When you look into the legal framework and some of the laws that should be put in place to ensure that the girl child is helped in this particular sector in the country, do you think they have been on the forefront to come up with laws to help the girl child in terms of ensuring menstrual hygiene and practice?
They're trying, but not necessarily.
Right.
You see, when people are pregnant, it's celebratory.
Yeah, sure.
But when it's menstruation, it's a dark phase.
Mm-hmm.
No, I feel like if we normalize periods and the government decides to just put it on the forefront because it's happening, it's affecting economics, it's affecting everything. So I feel like they're trying, yes,
Yeah.
but again, they should implement more laws to focus on this and put it as a priority. Let it not be a secret.
Yeah.
Let's normalize this. Let's focus on it. Let's celebrate this because, again, it's a reproductive health issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they can do better.
Yeah.
They're trying, but we can do better.
All right. Now, as we finalize, kindly, Miss Betty, you have an organization, Care by Betty. I know it is an initiative that you want to move forward, not only for now, even for years to come. Perhaps, what are some of the support that you will need under Care by Betty? What are some of the organizations that you love to call on board to ensure that this particular initiative moves forward and there is consistency? What can be your clarion call to ensure not only Care by Betty, but even other organizations that are doing this are able to survive and are able to make an impact in the society?
So I call upon everyone who shares the same dream to join us. We have a social media platform, Care by Betty on Instagram. We also have a contact you can call anytime. The phone number is 0729 551 986 in case you want to join us if you share the same dream. So I call upon people supporting us with sanitary products. You could also give us food stuff for the same kids, clothing, or contribute any amount that you feel like can help us to keep moving.
What will be your message to even girls? Because a lot of stigma has been there concerning menstruation up until now, even in schools. That particular time, as you have said, is a dark phase. What can be your message to girls, even to women, to be able to pass this information that, hey, this is not something that you should be ashamed about. It shows the womanhood that indeed you are a woman. What can be your parting shot, your message to girls, women, and even men who are even single fathers?
Yeah, so I call upon every young girl out there. It's a natural process. Embrace it. Don't be ashamed of this. But again, first and foremost, listen to your body. Let's not normalize period pain because now we have endometriosis. We need to learn more about this. So be sure to see your gynecologist at least every month or whenever you feel like this period pain is not normal. It's affecting your daily activities. And again, to those people out there who have knowledge about the same, let's try to create more awareness. Talk to your neighbor, talk to your kids, listen to them. And with this, you're going to break these barriers and you're going to end period poverty in time.
All right.
Yeah, and to our government, please, let's pass this bill of free provision of these sanitary napkins.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Betty Bosbori, for giving us a perspective concerning menstrual hygiene and practice.
Thank you so much for having me. Follow me on all social media platforms at Miss Bosibori KE_KE. In case of any inquiries, I'll be there to respond.
All right. There you have it, Ms. Betty Bosbori, of course, giving us a perspective concerning menstrual hygiene and practice. Be sure to check on Care by Betty, an initiative that is being put in place to help the girl child. Taking a short break, but we'll be back with more. See you in a moment.